So as far as AMR versus GAP, the only reason why I had to do AMR was because I was doing an internship out of town in New York City, and I couldn't come back on the weekends or at night during the week to participate with a group doing GAP. So if you did do an internship and you did it in the LA area, you could probably still do GAP and you wouldn't have a hard time with it. As far as the AMR experience itself, it was very rewarding to us. We got to pick our company that we wanted to work with. Luckily, they were actually ex-military guys as well, so we were able to help them start their business and give them a business model to follow in the future that would hopefully be productive for them. The way it works between AMR and GAP, you basically have to show proof that you're going to be out of town doing an internship in order to get out of the GAP program to do the AMR program. I don't think you're really sacrificing anything by doing AMR, but the fact that GAP, you get to stay with your FEMA students that you've been working with before. You also get the opportunity to work with a company that's out of the country. That was very, that appealed to me personally. Unfortunately, I couldn't do it, but I think AMR is definitely just as good as an alternative to GAP otherwise.
Yeah, I think Tim hit the high points. To me, the key differences between GAP and AMR are in favor of GAP. Anderson does a great job of setting you up with a firm that's outside the United States. So it seemed like everyone I talked to was essentially doing strategy for a firm in Sweden or Australia or China or something crazy like that. For AMR, on the other hand, we had a lot of flexibility to pick our own company, and in fact, the onus was completely on us to find a partner for AMR. So that was a positive in the sense that I think we had more freedom to structure the project the way that we wanted to structure it and choose our partner. And then on the downside, obviously, that most AMR partners are going to be local firms because you've got to meet with them and you've got to somehow recruit them to be in the AMR program. As far as the differences in the mechanics of the two programs, I think the lesson from the selection process is instructive for the entire program, in the sense that GAP is more structured, more sensitive to a FEMBA's schedule with work and family commitments, and there's kind of more I don't want to say hand-holding, but kind of more assistance from the Anderson infrastructure to help you be successful in GAP. Whereas AMR, it was a lot more entrepreneurial, I guess you'd say. I mean, find your partner, decide on a project, pitch that project to the partner and to the AMR office, and then execute that project with some oversight with a professor whom you also need to find, select, and convince to advise your team. So pros and cons for that. I mean, it's a lot more work up front, but you get the benefit in being able to structure your own project. So.
Yeah, I think the structure is the key point. Yeah. With GAP, and obviously we didn't participate, so we don't have a full understanding of it. But from what we saw the schedule, you had Saturday lectures where different professors would come up and teach you some of the finer points of strategy, and there was some more coursework and lecturing involved where you got kind of a deeper understanding of strategy and how a consultant looks at a company. Whereas from our perspective, it was more kind of shot out of a cannon. Here's a general direction to go, and you determine what the deliverables are. You work out the scope and deliver a paper 6 months later. I think if you're going to go that direction, you've kind of already set yourself up to do the work to get an internship, to do the work to get a full-time job, that you're going to be prepared to go on your own and do the work to do an AMR project, and it's not going to be anything that blows you away. But from us, I think it was the grass is greener from both sides. The GAP folks, as they're going through it, said, "Wow, you guys have AMR. You can spread it out. You can do whatever you want." And they thought it was a little better. And us looking at the GAP guys, they had clear deliverables. They knew what they were getting into.
Croissants at their meeting with their team. What I mean? Provided by Dylan.
We were kind of up in the air the whole time, and finally the last couple weeks just kind of brought it all together and somehow turned into a product that our company was happy with.
I think in terms of, so we've talked a bit about the difference from a practical perspective, but I think that from a lessons learned perspective, I do think that the programs are overwhelmingly similar. I mean, the GAP/AMR program is kind of the signature program at Anderson that, to me, when I tell people I went to Anderson, people tend to, for whatever reason, they say, oh, it's a good school for entrepreneurship. And when they say that to me, that really resonates with me because of this AMR/GAP experience. Every GAP team that I spoke with, and certainly every AMR team that we interacted with, was really dealing with a business at a crossroads, at a startup level, at a development level, where the Anderson team really gets to see, hey, these are the problems that businesses struggle with. This is how you do marketing. This is how you decide whether or not to launch a product. And being forced to provide that for a real live company, I think very similar to my internship, was really an intense learning experience. Now when I feel like if I want to start a company with these guys, we'd have a sense of a framework for how to do that.
Yeah, and even more on that, you go to a school, and a school that teaches you corporate bureaucracy is not going to help you succeed in the workforce. The things that and that we saw over our internship that are rewarded is that entrepreneurial spirit, where you're just pitching in to do whatever you can to help the company succeed, to help your team succeed, to do whatever you can to give more and offer more. And when you're in that entrepreneurial environment, I think what kind of UCLA teaches is that when you are very thinly staffed, when you don't have money, when you don't have the time, you have to put in the effort, and you kind of have to take all the responsibility on yourself. And you learn so much from that. And when you get in the business world and you can provide those same skills, you can have that same motivation, that same energy and drive, it's going to be recognized.
Sure. And then also, just from a student perspective, it's a great way to act as a culmination of your time here at Anderson. You really get to apply all aspects of the experience. You get to apply strategy, marketing, accounting, finance, everything to the AMR project or GAP. So it's a good way to help you see how much you can remember and how well you can actually apply it and see if it works. So it worked out well for me.